Well, folks, we've done it. We are pretty much at the end of the Chopin Preludes. After this episode, there's another set of 6 Preludes, which represent just an utterly immense jump in difficulty. It's almost as if there are 2 sets of Preludes. There's a set for us mortals and then a set of these 6 difficult ones, which are among the most well-known and just really powerful Preludes. The G major, F sharp minor, G sharp minor, B flat minor, which has been doing the rounds on social media, D flat major, and D minor, which is everyone's favorite. We will play those preludes. I don't want to present them to you. The thing is, though, I can't really play them, so we'll do them in a different way. I mean, I made a lot of progress over the course of this series, but it's still very difficult. I mean, even these some of those last episodes that we've done, both in Chopin and Bach, have represented pieces that are really above my comfort level, but I can still feel like I can play them. These 6 Chopin preludes, I cannot. Now, you might be doing a little bit of math and thinking, hold on, there's 24 preludes. This is number 14, and then there's going to be another set of 6. So what happened to those other 4? And I have absolutely no qualms saying that I don't play those other 4. So the G minor and the F minor preludes, I find them anemically weird is the way that I would describe them, as opposed to, for example, this E flat minor one and the A minor preludes, which are strongly weird. They're just very weird in a very interesting way that really captures me. But the F minor and G minor, just for some reason, they do not. The E major prelude is perfectly serviceable, but I guess it's a little too regal for me. Just doesn't do much. And then the B minor prelude, also perfectly serviceable, and in fact quite famous. It was played at Chopin's funeral along with the E minor prelude, but it's just too much of a funeral dirge, especially coming so shortly after the E minor prelude. When I play the preludes start to finish, it ruins the flow. So these 4 preludes I don't play, which leaves, besides the set of 6 that I mentioned, the 6 difficult ones, this wonderful, very interesting, very strange E flat minor prelude. This prelude, depending on how you interpret it, can be a whole lot of nothing or a whole lot of amazing. It really reminds me, as so many pieces by Chopin do, of Tommy Stinton, the bassist from The Replacements. I think it was 16 or 17 when he wrote a lyric that says, "I hate music, it's got too many notes," and I could not agree with that more. Depending on how you interpret this, it feels like too many notes. But there's a way that I see the piece that is so cool. And I'm not saying there's like a right way and a wrong way to interpret this. You can interpret it however you want. Think of it, I mean, let me present it to you in a different way. Think of it like this. I want to show you the way that I see this piece and why it can be so cool. So in this episode, let me present the piece, talk about what's interesting about it, and then focus on technique a little bit more than we've done in the past couple of episodes, because this is a very difficult piece. And it really requires, like in the previous episodes, it requires very fine, very powerful fingers, all of the fingers, even the 4th, which will never be as powerful as the rest, but it still needs to be powerful and hold its own. So let's dig into it. What makes this piece click? What is so interesting about it? The name of the game here is, it's like a rise and fall of dynamics, of volume, of power. Not really like waves, because the piece moves way too quickly and it's way too jumpy. It's more like gusts of wind, just like pulling you in one direction and another very quickly. Very jumpy, very almost jittery. That's why I don't like the idea of the analogy of waves, and more like gusts of wind. So what we need to do here is, how do we control the piece so that we have these feelings of, let me play it slower, of rise, fall, rise, fall, rise, and fall. It's difficult because it's such a quick piece, very fast, and the changes, the hairpin dynamics, which you can see all over the sheet music, happen over the span of just like a second, maybe 2 seconds. That's really the difficulty here. And there are three well, let's call them tips that I have that really helped me to control these dynamics and to get the feeling of rising and falling gusts in the wind. The first one is accenting. It really helps a lot to accent the beginning of usually every 2 quarter notes, so every half beat, every half measure. This is written in cut time. So exaggerating. This ensures that we start afresh at every group. Usually the hairpin dynamics start at the beginning of one of these half beats. Sometimes it's at just a quarter note. It forces you, like I said, to start afresh, to make sure that you're beginning the rise or the fall at every quarter note or half beat. Controlling the accents is also important so that you don't over accent or don't accidentally accent something else. So for example, in this section, it's very easy with the 5th finger and the thumb to accidentally lean into those notes too much, which ruins the feeling, this rise and the fall. So if you're focusing just on the beginning of the beat, you're more careful about the accents and you make sure that you're only accenting the beginning, which is really the important part, so that you don't ruin the rise and fall of the dynamics. Very related to this is something rhythmic. In this piece, it's really a 2 against 3 sort of thing, which we've seen a lot, like in the Bach F major prelude, the Bach G sharp minor prelude. I'm sure in some Chopin ones as well that aren't at the tip of my tongue right now. Normally this piece, you feel it in triplets. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, and so on. But there's a couple of places where you feel it in 2. So for example, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 1 triplet, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 triplet. Again, 1 triplet, 1 triplet, excuse me, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 1 triplet, 1 and 2 and 3 and. You can see it in the shapes. You've got these jumps in 2. So this is very related to accents because you need to be aware of when are we feeling it in 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, and when are we feeling in 1 and 2 and 3 and. Being very deliberate and careful with the accents is important so that you really bring this to light, whether we're feeling 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 1 triplet, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1. So they're very related. Be aware of when you have this feeling in 2 versus in 3. It happens throughout the whole piece, just in a couple of places, and be deliberate with your accents to make sure that you're making either the triplets or the 3s or the 2s stand out. The last kind of tip is not really much of a tip, but it has to do with the harmony. Just be aware of the taste, the feel of each one of these chords. The harmony does not make sense, except for the beginning. The beginning is very clear. We got the 1, we go to the 6, we got the diminished 7th, which acts as the dominant, B flat major, back to the 1. So except for this one section, which is just standard prelude stuff, the rest of it is very weird. I mean, there's like a F augmented here, there's a G sharp minor. I mean, just true nonsense. But be aware of what chord you're playing. It should be pretty clear every group of either half beat or quarter note. It should be clear what chord you're playing. And even if it doesn't make sense in the context of the piece, at least have an idea of what it sounds like, what it feels like. Being aware of it, so it's not just a bunch of notes, a bunch of chords. Have like an idea of what it sounds like to go from this E flat minor to this F augmented to this G sharp minor. Okay, So that's it for the piece. Some ideas for how to really lean into and really bring out this feeling of rising and falling in dynamics, like in gusts of winds in the wind. Let's talk about the technique a little bit. There's 5 tips that I want to give you for this piece, for how to really handle the technique. The first 3 are pretty general. The last 2 are specific to the piece. Generally speaking, we've talked about this before, and paradoxically, when you want to play something very fast, it's like the faster you want to play a piece, the more important it is to sink into the bottom of the key bed. If you're playing lightly at the top and not feeling the bottom of the key bed, you end up, it's not very assured, it's not very solid, it sounds kind of weak and flimsy. Have faith in your fingers, especially if you can like approximate some of these pieces that we're playing lately. Have faith in your fingers that they can move very, very quickly. So feel the bottom of the key bed and practice very slowly at first, slowly and like a mezzo forte, to feel the bottom of the key bed and see what it's like to really tie these notes together. Almost like kneading dough. Somebody mentioned that. Actually, a lot of people have said that playing the piano was kind of like the same feeling as kneading dough. So very important. Really play deliberately and slowly and feel the bottom of the key bed. Now, I mean, kind of generally and also related to this piece is a question of fingering. As we saw in the previous episodes as well, we really require some pretty awkward fingerings so that you don't have to move your hand too much into the key bed and out of the key bed. So right at the beginning, for example, with the left hand, what's natural for me would be on this B flat minor is to play like this with the thumb on the B flat. The problem is that we start here on the diminished chord, and then to put the thumb on the B flat, we have to move the hand in. It doesn't look like a big deal, but over the course of this piece, and at the speed of this piece, having to do this into the key bed, out of the key bed, very, very quickly, it ruins the flow of the piece. It really, I would say it can't be done. Maybe it can, maybe I'll eat my words, but I certainly could not do it. And the trick here, well, it's not a trick. You just need to use a different fingering so that you can keep your hand much more still, so that it's always about here. And usually what that means is that instead of using the thumb on a black key, you're using the second finger. I'm pretty sure most of the editions of this piece is going to have a fingering like this, like my Henley edition definitely has that. So here on this diminished chord, we're playing like this with 5-4-1, which leaves my second finger in easy access for this B flat. Now this is a little weird. It's not that weird. I mean, this is kind of like a B flat playing like this. But it will put your hand in some kind of strange shapes. But it's very important. See? I'm not moving my hand at all. This is true throughout the entire piece in both hands. Related to this, you'll notice that this is going to put your hand in some positions where you really need to have a very strong, powerful arpeggio technique across all 5 fingers. So again, using this example. This is a great exercise. Or even if it's not a 5-finger exercise, we're really honing in the fourth finger in the left hand. I mean, you can see it is a little bit weird the way the hand is positioned over here. So work on 5-finger arpeggio exercises in both hands. This piece is just a treasure trove of ideas, of ways you can do that. Now, more specific to this piece is this idea of tremolos. Because you're playing the hands together, and I mean they're in lockstep, practicing tremolos is just like practicing trills. We talked about this before. To make sure that you're not just playing loosey-goosey, playing the hands together forces you to ensure that they're very strict tremolos. And right at the beginning, this is a great exercise to do. 1, one triplet, two triplet, 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 one triplet, two triplet. Because the piece is so fast, it really feels almost like tremolos. We'll see this in the Bach C minor prelude as well, where you're kind of almost doing trills over here. So in this piece, I highly recommend practicing tremolos like this. They're very difficult. You need to have very fine control over both the thumb and the fifth finger in both hands. This is like Schubert's the Fantasy for piano and violin in C major. Same here, same idea here. Oop, I already got out of sync. Very difficult, very important to do. Related to this is practicing transitions, which we've talked about before. Because you have basically a series of different hand positions, practicing the transitions between them is very important, especially in the tremolo. So one of my main exercises for this piece is going from here, from this C flat major, the 4 chord, to this diminished. This movement, especially with the pinky in the left hand, is very important. Very difficult. But very important. But really throughout the entire piece, almost any transition, any change in hand position is worth practicing. Whoops. See, I'm practicing like a tremolo. And practicing the transition to make sure that I'm not accenting the wrong notes. So that's it for the technique in this piece. Very, very difficult, very rewarding and fun. Well, fun is not really the right word because it's such a strange piece, but it's very rewarding to pull off, and it's pretty wonderful pedagogically as well. It's one of the rare Chopin preludes that I find to be as pedagogically rich as the Bach ones. All right, so that's it for this prelude. Thank you for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, this is the last one, kind of the last one before the next set of 6. I can't believe we've made it this far. All right, thank you for watching. Let's hear the piece.